Discover the incredible journey of the bearded woman who transformed lives for 3 generations. In the heart of Maplewood, a town where whispers floated on the autumn breeze, lived Belle, a woman whose thick, curly beard framed her face like a banner of courage. At 32, she was not just a curiosity. She was a whirlwind of spirit, a fire in a town that often felt like a cold wind swept through. Raised by her single mother, June, who struggled with her own insecurities, Belle knew all about the weight of societal expectations. But instead of shrinking away from the judgment, she decided early on that her uniqueness would be her superpower. Belle had grown up under scrutiny, her heart often bruised by cruel words and the sting of exclusion. Yet, as she walked through the familiar streets, she felt an overwhelming urge to change the narrative. It was her mission to empower not just herself but her mother, too, showing June the value of self-acceptance. They would sit on their porch, the moonlight illuminating the quiet determination in Belle's eyes. "You are beautiful just as you are, Mom," she often reminded June. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." And step by step, they began to heal together. As the Maplewood Harvest Festival approached, a pall hung in the air. The community center that welcomed children and families was at risk of closing due to lack of funds. The news cut deep, like a shard of glass in Belle's heart. She could not just stand by. The thought of losing that lifeline ignited a fire within her. "We can save it," she explained, rallying her neighbors with the intensity of a storm. Belle organized a fundraising event, inviting everyone to contribute their hearts along with their funds. But behind her passion lay the fear of judgment, the voice of those who dismissed her as a freak echoing in her mind. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let us continue. As the festival drew nearer, a betrayal left Belle reeling. Her childhood friend had turned into a source of whispered gossip, and the weight of their shared history weighed heavily on her. The hurt nestled deep in her chest, igniting the old shame she thought she had overcome. "Am I worth anything at all?" the thoughts taunted her. The shadow of judgment felt overwhelming, threatening to suffocate her spirit. Yet, just as dark clouds hovered on the horizon, Belle steeled herself, determined to rise against the tide. As the festival lights began to flicker through the falling leaves, she prepared to speak, her heart pounding with hope and fear. Would the townsfolk embrace her? Could she finally shine as the person she was born to be? As she stood at the center of attention, the crisp autumn air crackling with anticipation, she took a deep breath. Would Maplewood finally see her for more than just her beard, or would the whispers drown her out once more? The moment drew close, and every soul felt the tension in the air. A moment of transformation was about to unfold. Belle stood at the center of the festival grounds, the flickering lights casting a warm glow around her. Every breath felt heavy, every heartbeat thundered like a drum. The crowd around her was a mix of familiar faces and strangers, an audience filled with the hopes and hesitations she carried within herself. As she opened her mouth to speak, countless thoughts swirled in her mind: doubts, fears, and memories of bullying. Yet, amid the chaos, a spark of courage ignited within her. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "We're gathered for the Maplewood Harvest Festival, but more importantly, we're here to save our beloved community center." A wave of murmurs spread across the crowd, some enthusiastic, others skeptical. Belle's eyes scanned the faces, landing on her mother, June. There was love and pride in her gaze, a comforting anchor in this sea of uncertainty. "This place has been a home for so many of us," she continued, feeling the warmth of support rising with each word. "It's where we laugh, learn, and grow. And I believe it deserves a fighting chance." A few heads nodded, but Belle could hear whispered snickers. The teasing echo of her childhood friend's betrayal lingered in her ears. "You'll never fit in," the voice said, taunting her. "You don't belong." Belle swallowed hard, pushing the thoughts aside. "I know that many of you might see me differently. You might think I'm just the bearded woman." She paused, taking a deep breath. "But I am so much more than that. I'm a part of this community, just like every single one of you." The energy shifted. There was a ripple throughout the crowd. Some couldn't hold back their smiles, and a few even clapped tentatively. It infused her with a jolt of hope. "And I stand before you with a mission," Belle declared, her voice rising. "Not just to protect our community center, but to show that we all have the power to embrace our uniqueness, to support one another. Every one of us is worth a place here, just as we are." The words hung in the air, charged with raw emotion. A child in the front started clapping, and soon, others joined in, the rhythm building like a wave. Hope, acceptance, unity. It was a feeling like none other. Just then, a familiar figure emerged from the crowd. It was her friend, the one who turned into a whisper of betrayal. She stepped towards Belle, hesitating, eyes filled with regret. Belle's heart raced. Would she attack her? Would she shrug off the past as easily as she had pushed Belle aside? I'm sorry," her friend managed, voice barely audible over the growing applause. "I've been a fool for letting others dictate how I feel about you." Belle felt a rush of conflicting emotions. Could she truly forgive? The warmth of the crowd held a different energy now. Acceptance washed over her, but the pain from the betrayal still lingered, making it challenging to respond. As she prepared to speak, the weight of the moment gnawed at her, a voice inside her whispering for resolution. Could she show her vulnerability and strength in the same moment? Taking a deep breath, Belle met her friend's eyes. "Thank you for being brave enough to say that," she finally said, her voice stronger than she felt. "We all deserve a second chance." At that moment, Belle felt a shift in the air. The crowd was no longer simply watchful spectators. They were participants in this raw display of humanity. As applause erupted around her, Belle's gaze wandered beyond the crowd, toward the darkening sky. What would tomorrow bring for Maplewood? And how could she ensure that this newfound connection and understanding became part of the town's story? The festival wasn't over, and neither was her journey. As the celebration continued, her heart swelled with possibility, but she couldn't shake the feeling that a deeper challenge loomed on the horizon. Would she have the strength to face it head-on? The air buzzed with energy as Belle stepped down from the makeshift stage. The festival was wild with laughter and chatter, and she could feel the warmth of acceptance enveloping her like a blanket. But deep down, Belle felt a stirring of anxiety. Had her words truly made a difference? Could she really salvage the community center and mend the torn fabric of her relationships? As the cheerful sounds of the festival surrounded her, her friend, now standing beside her, whispered, "You were amazing. I didn't know you had it in you." There was a genuine sparkle in her eyes, a light Belle hadn't seen for a long time. Belle smiled back, a mix of gratitude and uncertainty swirling within her. It felt good to finally say what's in my heart. But another side of her wondered if she could maintain this feeling. Would it all come crashing down again? "Hey, let us go check out the booths," her friend suggested, pulling Belle toward a colorful display of handmade crafts. The vibrant colors were captivating, yet the unease settled deeper in Belle's stomach. She needed to maintain this connection, not just with her friend, but with everyone. They walked together, laughing and pointing at various pieces. Suddenly, Belle spotted her mother, June, helping an elderly lady pick out a scarf. The sight made her heart swell with warmth. June had always been her rock, but even she couldn't shield her from the lingering effects of cruelty. In a way, Belle wanted to show her mother she had grown beyond the hurt. "Mom, look!" she called, waving her arms. June's face lit up, and she hurried over, her presence grounding Belle. "Oh, honey, you were magnificent!" June exclaimed, tears glistening in her eyes. "I'm so proud of you." Belle felt a rush of love wash over her. "Thank you, Mom. But we need more than just words now. We need to take action." "What do you mean?" June asked, her brow furrowing slightly. The urgency gripped Belle as she explained her plans to host a fundraiser to cover the community center's expenses. She envisioned potlucks, car washes, talent shows, anything to light the flame of community spirit. "I want to create a place where we lift each other up, where others can feel what I felt today," Belle urged, her heart racing. "It starts now." June's expression turned thoughtful. "You're right. But it won't be easy." "I know. But I don't want to be afraid anymore." Belle took a deep breath, a resolve settling in her chest. If she could withstand the humiliation, then surely she could face any challenges ahead. Suddenly, a loud crash pierced the air, causing heads to turn. A booth had toppled over, scattering colorful crafts everywhere. The laughter turned to murmurs of concern. Belle's heart skipped a beat as she recognized the booth's owner. It was Mrs. Vickers, the town's most outspoken critic of the community center. As people rushed over to help, Belle felt a pang of determination. This was her moment. "Let us help," she explained to her friend, who nodded eagerly. They darted toward the scene, hands outstretched to assist. Belle caught Mrs. Vickers' surprised gaze. "We're here to help, no matter what," she said firmly. As they worked together, Belle felt a shift in the air. It was more than just picking up crafts. It was a bridge being built, a vulnerability shared. But as the sun dipped lower in the sky, Belle sensed shadows looming, fears quietly whispering, reminding her that acceptance was only the beginning of her journey. Would she be able to truly unite Maplewood? Or would old wounds resurface, threatening the progress she had fought so hard to achieve? The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the festival as Belle knelt alongside her friend, scooping up stray crafts and returning them to Mrs. Vickers. The older woman watched with a mix of surprise and tentative appreciation. Belle could feel the weight of the moment hanging between them, a fragile bridge of understanding beginning to form from the chaos. "You really don't have to," Mrs. Vickers said softly, brushing a stray hair from her face. Her usually sharp tone was replaced by something more vulnerable. "I can manage. It's just a few things." Belle straightened, locking eyes with her. "No, you can't do it alone. We're all in this together, right?" Mrs. Vickers paused, her expression wavering as she absorbed Belle's words. The townsfolk buzzed around them, heads nodding in agreement. It felt different this time. Instead of whispers of judgment, there was a blossoming sense of camaraderie. "I guess just maybe I've been pushing people away," Mrs. Vickers admitted, an uncharacteristic softness in her voice. "It's easier to criticize than to connect." Belle felt her heart quicken. If we don't start connecting now, there won't be anything left to save. The community center is a place where we can all grow together. Slowly, Mrs. Vickers nodded, a hint of something like hope flickering in her eyes. The conversation shifted, and together, they cleared the mess, laughter gradually replacing the awkwardness. Belle's friend caught her gaze, grinning as the warmth of the moment wrapped around them like a shared secret. "See? This is just the start," she whispered as they loaded the last of the crafts into a box. Belle smiled, her heart swelling. "Exactly. But we need to keep the momentum going." "Anything we can do," she began, eyes darting across the festival where people were still buzzing with excitement. Just then, someone cried out, "Let us have a bake sale." It was Noah, a shy boy from the community center's after-school program. His suggestion brought immediate applause, and others began to chime in with ideas. A rotating list of activities poured forth: bingo nights, family movie nights, even game tournaments. Excitement crested like the waves crashing upon a shore. Belle felt invincible. This was the moment she had dreamed of, a tangible manifestation of healing and unity. Her heart raced at the prospect of organizing so many events. But, as the laughter echoed and the chatter swelled, a small voice in her head whispered doubts. Could these plans sustain interest and participation? What if they failed to escape Mrs. Vickers' skepticism? Ignoring the fears nipping at her heels, she pushed her way to the center of the gathering crowd, adrenaline fueling her resolve. "Okay, everyone," Belle called out, raising her hands for quiet. "Let us gather all our ideas together. We can brainstorm ways to fundraise and celebrate our community spirit." Cheers erupted, filling her with joy. But just as she opened her mouth to begin, the distant sound of a car alarm blared, cutting through the excitement like a knife. "What now?" Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Belle turned towards the noise, her heart pounding. It was coming from the community center parking lot, where the lights of an unfamiliar car flickered ominously. As she walked closer, a knot formed in her stomach. What was happening? She felt her friend's hand on her back, steadying her. "Let us see." As they approached the parking lot, a figure stepped out from the car. The moment froze as curiosity turned to tension. The last thing Belle expected was for the person to be someone she hadn't seen in years. What was this visitor going to bring back into her life? Would it help or hinder her mission to unite Maplewood? The figure stepped fully into the light, and Belle's breath caught in her throat. It was Jenna, her childhood friend. A tangle of emotions rushed through her: joy, confusion, uncertainty. The girl she once spent summers giggling with in the town park now stood before her, transformed by the years. "Belle?" Jenna called out, her voice trembling slightly. Belle's heart raced. "Jenna, is that really you?" The crowd momentarily paused, curiosity and surprise spreading like ripples in a pond. Jenna hadn't been back to Maplewood in over a decade. When she left for college and then a life in the city, Belle had felt abandoned, as if a vibrant part of her world had vanished. Jenna's smile faltered, as if she sensed Belle's mixed feelings. "I heard about the festival and felt I had to come. I didn't expect so many people." She gestured to the crowd, her nerves evident. Belle took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their shared past. "It's great to see you. We're just getting everyone together to brainstorm ideas for the community center." She motioned toward the festival, her excitement dimming slightly under the weight of nostalgia. "What brings you back?" The question hung in the air. Jenna looked around, her gaze tracing old memories etched into familiar places. "I had to come back. It's been a long time since I felt a sense of home." Belle seized the moment, emotions swirling inside her, a chance for a reconnection, maybe even healing. "You know, we could use your help. There are so many ideas we want to implement, but we need people who believe in what we're trying to do." Jenna's expression shifted, the hesitation giving way to intrigue. "I've been looking for something meaningful to do," she admitted softly. It was as if she had carried that longing, just like Belle. "I'd love to help." Cheers erupted from the crowd again, as Belle's friend nudged her forward. The town had transformed into a tapestry of hope and enthusiasm, and here stood Jenna, a thread woven into that fabric. "Okay. Let us get started then," Belle said, rallying her spirit. "We can brainstorm over some snacks. Who else with us?" Eager hands shot into the air, voices rising like a chorus. Yet a sliver of apprehension remained. Could they really rekindle that connection? Would Jenna stay this time, or would she slip away again like she had before? As the two began to collaborate, old familiarity sparked between them, guiding sharp memories of laughter into the present. Jenna began sharing her experiences in the city, stories of struggle and triumph. The other townsfolk started gathering, drawn into their conversation, sharing their own pieces of life. In that moment, Belle felt something warm and expansive grow within her chest. Hope. The community was coming alive again. But then, just as they were about to dive deeper into their plans, a loud crash broke through the festival's harmony. A nearby booth toppled over, scattering colorful crafts everywhere. The crowd gasped, then buzzed with anxious murmurs. "Let us check that out," Jenna suggested, her practicality cutting through the chaos. Belle nodded, but her heart thudded in her chest. Was this a setback? Or an opportunity? Behind that crash could lay future collaborations or unanticipated challenges? As they sprinted toward the commotion, Belle held tight to the hope that was woven through the festival. The past may have its grip, but together they could face whatever chaos awaited next. What awaited them in the aftermath of that crash? Would it change the dynamic of their plans forever? As Belle and Jenna dashed toward the booth, the crowd was already buzzing with concern. A mix of children and adults gathered around the mess, faces painted with shock and worry. Belle felt her stomach twist with each anxious voice. "Is anyone hurt?" she shouted, hoping to slice through the chaos. A pair of teenage girls were kneeling by the booth, trying to gather the fallen crafts, a jumble of painted wooden animals, handmade jewelry, and vibrant paintings. The booth's owner, Mrs. Thompson, an older lady who had always been a fixture at the town's events, was kneeling nearby, face flushed with embarrassment. "It's all right, it's all right," Jenna said, stepping forward with a calm authority that surprised Belle. "Let us just clear this up and make sure everyone is okay." Belle knelt down beside Jenna and started picking up the scattered items. The crafts felt warm from the sun, their colors bright against the dull ground. She glanced at Jenna, who was comforting Mrs. Thompson, assuring her it was just an accident. Looking at her with admiration, Belle felt the heaviness of nostalgia lift just a bit. "Told you it was harder than it looks, didn't I?" Jenna teased, her smile returning, easing the elder woman's tension. Mrs. Thompson chuckled, wiping a bead of sweat from her forehead. "Well, maybe I need to get you on my team next time. You seem to handle crises well." With shared laughter and teamwork, the crowd began to disperse, anxiety replaced with a sense of community helping out their own. The booth was quickly restored, even if it felt slightly haphazard now, with a few misplaced items and one cracked frame. "See? Not so bad," Belle said, brushing dirt off her knees and standing tall. The warmth from the sun wrapped around them like a familiar blanket. She turned to Jenna, feeling a renewed bond, one forged not just through nostalgia but through action, resilience, and shared effort. Yet just as the tension lifted, a loud voice echoed through the festival. "Hey everyone! Can you believe the chaos at the booth? It isn't even the bad news." Belle's heart sank. What else could possibly go wrong today? The crowd turned, shifting their focus to the town's mayor, who now stood atop a wooden crate. His face was grim. "I just received word that the funding for the new community center project is on hold. They need more time to review the proposal." Gasps swept through the assembled townfolk. Belle felt as if the ground beneath her was swaying. The weight of the news pressed heavily against her chest just when they had begun to map out their future. It seemed like fate was pulling the rug from under them again. Jenna stepped closer, determination sparking a fire in her eyes. "Maybe this is an opportunity, Belle. We can rally everyone, share our ideas, and fight for what we believe in." Belle's mind raced with possibilities. Could this setback push their plans even further? Would this be the push the town needed to unite not just for a center, but for everything they cherished? Against the backdrop of murmurs and sharpening faces, Belle felt a flicker of hope ignite inside her. They were in this together, and armed with that spirit, they could really make something happen. The uncertainty still hung thick in the air. The fight ahead seemed daunting. But for Belle and Jenna, the first step was always the hardest. Let us gather everyone, Belle said, her voice steady. We need to plan our next move. As they moved to energize the crowd, the electric tension hung between them. Would they be able to transform uncertainty into a movement strong enough to face the challenges ahead? The festival's laughter and colors faded into the background as they stepped towards the crowd, but the weight of the new reality surged before them like a tidal wave. What strategies could they rally, and would the community's spirit rise to the occasion? Gathering everyone was like trying to catch smoke with bare hands. The festival's energy simmered, but Belle and Jenna pressed on. They exchanged determined looks as they made their way to the center, hoping to find the courage that everyone else seemed to be lacking. Listen up, everyone! Jenna called, her voice slicing through the chatter. Heads turned, and for a moment, the noise faded. The crowd that had been so concerned about the booth now faced uncertainty head-on. Mrs. Thompson, still adjusting her blouse and catching her breath, nodded appreciatively. We're all in this together, folks, she added, sensing the need to reassure her neighbors. Belle stepped forward, her heart thumping like a drum. We all know how much we need the community center. It's a place where our kids can play, where we can gather for events. It brings us together. The crowd murmured in agreement, fueled by memories of laughter and connection that the center promised. Exactly. Jenna chimed in, pacing slightly as she spoke. This delay isn't the end. It's just a speed bump. We can show them we want to back down. What if we host a town meeting and share our ideas? Show our passion for this project? Everyone here has something to contribute. Excitement flickered through the crowd. A few people nodded, and someone in the back shouted, "Yeah. Let us make signs." The idea caught on, a wave spreading through the group. Belle felt a surge of hope wash over her. It was budding a messy flower growing up through cracks in the pavement. Let us create a petition, Mrs. Thompson suggested, her hands now steady. Gather signatures, show them that our community is united. More voices chimed in, enthusiasm replacing the worry from moments before. The children, who had been previously distracted, perked up, their little faces alight with interest. They began drawing signs, racing to contribute to this newfound energy. Belle watched them, a warmth spreading through her heart. Then came a voice from the back, Mr. Jacobs, the old fisherman with a gruff demeanor, but a soft spot for the town. I've got a few ideas kicking around, ways to fundraise too. We could have a fish fry, maybe a bake sale. Count me in. Someone else shouted, enthusiasm rippling through the crowd. As plans began to unfold, like petals opening to the sun, Belle felt the weight lift. Jenna caught her eye, and they exchanged a smile that spoke volumes. They were on the brink of something big. The town was rallying. It was more than just about the center now. It felt like they were weaving a tapestry of hope and resilience. Everyone had a role. This was theirs, a collective heartbeat rising through the festival grounds. But amid the jubilation, a shadow hung in the back of Belle's mind. Would their voices be enough? Would the powers that be notice their passion? As the crowd started to disperse, excitement still buzzing, Belle looked at Jenna, determination etched on her face. We can do this, can't we? Jenna grinned, a spark of belief igniting in her eyes. Absolutely. But we need to be organized. Every voice counts. Feeling a rush of adrenaline, Belle nodded, but underneath, uncertainty tugged at her. What if their efforts fell flat? As the sun began to sink lower in the sky, casting warm colors across the now emptied booth, Belle couldn't shake the feeling that the real challenge was just warming up. Would their community's spirit be enough to ignite real change? The festival lights began to twinkle, illuminating faces brimming with hope. And in the distance, she saw the mayor's serious silhouette, deep in thought. What connection did he have to the town's doubts? Would he stand in solidarity, or would he be another barrier in their way? As the first stars appeared, Belle's heart raced with the stakes of the hours ahead. Could they truly change the tide, or would they drown in the waves of bureaucracy? With the world still open before them, the sun dipped below the horizon, and a new journey loomed ahead. The next morning brought an air of urgency that swept through the town like a chill from the nearby river. Belle awoke to the sound of her phone buzzing relentlessly. It was Jenna, her voice crackling with excitement mixed with the kind of nerves that only come when the stakes are high. "Hey, Belle. We need to meet at the cafe." Jenna's voice was electric. "Mr. Jacobs is organizing a town meeting for this week. We've got to get the word out." The idea of a town meeting sent a whirl of possibilities spinning in Belle's mind. This was their chance. She jumped out of bed, a newfound determination fueling her every movement. The day ahead felt like standing at the starting line of a race. Breathless and buzzing. At the cafe, the smell of fresh coffee mingled with the chatter of locals discussing the festival. As Belle huddled with Jenna and Mr. Jacobs, she could feel the focus sharpen around their plans. They scribbled notes and shared tasks, each person's excitement building the next. "All right," Mr. Jacobs boomed, pushing aside his coffee mug. "We need to set clear goals. What do we want to achieve at this meeting? We can't just go in there with feelings. We need facts." Belle's mind raced. "We should include our budget, maybe some ideas about community programs. We need everyone to see how important this is for kids, for families." Her voice trailed off as the vision of the center flashed vividly in her mind: children playing, families celebrating together. Jenna nodded enthusiastically. "And we need personal stories. Those always hit home. I'll gather testimonials from families who've used the center." The trio spent hours going over details until their notepads were filled and coffee cups drained. There was a tangible shift, a sense that they were more than just a few frustrated voices. They were becoming leaders. As the sun dipped lower in the sky once again, Belle found herself back at the booth, this time with a handful of flyers. She felt buoyed by the energy they had built, but was also ready to face potential rejection. Would people show up? Would they care enough to gather? One by one, she approached neighbors, her heart pounding each time someone peered at the flyer. Some raised eyebrows, others simply shrugged, but as she spoke, skepticism faded. Soon, people were nodding, a shared understanding blossoming. "We need to grab this opportunity," Belle said, her voice firm. "This is about our community's future." As Belle continued to engage with the townsfolk, she found warmth in their responses. They remembered the center fondly, each memory connecting like threads in a tapestry. By nightfall, the meeting had garnered more interest than she could have hoped for. Word had spread quickly, and excitement rippled through the air. But while hope bubbled inside her, there was a nagging worry. The mayor had remained elusive since the festival. Would he be open to hearing them? Or would he dismiss the meeting and their dreams outright, prioritizing his agenda instead? The night sky sparkled with more than just stars. It hummed with uncertainty and expectancy. Belle turned her gaze towards the heavens, willing all the doubts away. She felt the power of the community behind her bolster her resolve. "Our voices are strong," she whispered to herself. "We can make a difference." At that moment, a figure appeared at the edge of the booth. A tall, shadowy presence. She recognized instantly the mayor, hands deep in his pockets, his expression unreadable. The air thickened, and Belle's heart raced anew. Would she dare approach him, or would their journey to change everything come to an abrupt halt? The stakes had never felt higher, and the next chapter of their fight was just beginning. Belle took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment crash over her like a wave. The mayor stood there, seemingly unfazed, and yet his presence sent a jumble of emotions swirling within her. Confidence warred with uncertainty. This wasn't just about the community center anymore. It was about speaking up for dreams, hopes, and the struggles of the people she had come to love. "Mayor Thompson." she called out, her voice quivering slightly but louder than the murmurs of the crowd. He turned his head towards her, his expression still unreadable. "Miss Silver," he greeted, his tone cool. "What brings you out here tonight?" Belle stepped forward, leaving behind the safety of her booth, drawing strength from the gathered townsfolk who watched, eyes filled with curiosity. "We're organizing a town meeting for the community center this week," she said, quickly adding, "and we would love for you to be there to hear what we have to say. It's important to us." He raised an eyebrow, the slightest hint of interest flickering behind his stoic demeanor. "I've been busy, as you know. But let's be honest, what can a few flyers and some talking really do?" The crowd behind her stirred, whispers of disbelief and apprehension spreading like wildfire. Belle felt a rush of anger and passion surge through her. "It can unite us. It can show what our community truly wants. We're asking for your support, not for ourselves, but for our children, for families. We have stories that matter." She let the words hang in the air, letting them settle like dust after a storm. For a moment, silence enveloped them, and all Belle could hear was her heart pounding in her chest. The crowd shifted, their chatter fading, eyes fixed curiously on the mayor. "Every voice matters, Mayor," Belle pushed, her voice steadying. "If you really care, you'll show up. We need someone to listen. We need you." He regarded her, his face still unreadable. But this time, she saw a flicker of something. Maybe it was resistance, perhaps denial, but it was there. The tension between them crackled like electricity. "Fine," he said, his tone clipped. "I'll consider attending." With that, he turned and disappeared into the night, body language rigid. A wave of emotion swept through Belle as the crowd erupted into cheers. Jenna clapped her on the back. "You did it. You actually talked to him." "Yeah, but will he show up?" Belle replied, her smile faltering. Doubt lurked in the corners of her mind, but she pushed it away. The next day was a flurry of activity. Flyers whipped through the air as Belle, Jenna, and Mr. Jacobs pushed deeper into the heart of the town, touching more lives with their mission. Each personal story they gathered painted a picture of love and resilience against the fading dream of the community center. Belle finally felt the hopeful energy enveloping her. People were rallying. Kids were drawing pictures, families writing testimonials. This wasn't just about the center. This was about the heart of their community. But as the meeting day approached, the anxiety crept back in. What if the mayor didn't come? What if he did? Would he see the heartfelt stories, or would he glaze over them with his usual indifference? The night before the meeting, Belle stood in her room, staring at the clutter of papers scattered across her desk. She closed her eyes, imagining the crowd, the voices coming together as one strong echo. They would not back down. When she opened her eyes, she saw her reflection, determination set like stone in her features. "Tomorrow," she whispered to herself, "everything changes." And as dawn broke, she felt the calm before the storm, her heart brimming with hope and trepidation. A knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. It was her mother, her eyes wide with concern. "Belle, I just heard." But just then, the loud ring of Belle's phone cut across the moment. It was Jenna, breathless on the other end. "You won't believe who just called me." What could this mean? What had changed? "Jenna, what is it? Are they coming?" Belle's heart raced, an electric charge coursing through her veins. "Not just that, Belle. The mayor's office called. He said he received our flyers, and he is actually considering bringing his team. They want to discuss community proposals on funding." Jenna's voice cracked with excitement. Belle felt warmth spreading through her whole being. "Are you serious? This is huge." "Yes. But we have to be ready. If they're coming, we need to show them why this matters. Everyone needs to be there." The urgency in Jenna's voice built a fire in Belle. This was their moment, a golden opportunity to stand tall, hearts beating as one. That evening, Belle gathered with her mother, Jenna, Mr. Jacobs, and a few other core supporters at her home. They batted ideas back and forth, voices blending into a powerful symphony of vision. "We need more stories," Belle urged, enthusiasm bubbling in her chest. "Let us get our testimonials together, make a video, anything to hit them in the feels." June nodded, affection shining in her eyes. "You're growing into a leader, sweetie. This is where your voice can change lives." Belle bit her lip, grateful for her mother's support. They worked late into the night, piecing together stories, memories, laughter, and love that filled the community center full of life. When the day of the meeting arrived, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. The streets buzzed as townsfolk turned out, their faces painted with determination, hope shimmering like golden leaves in the autumn sun. Families filled seats, a mosaic of generations brought together by a shared dream, a place that could unite them all. As Belle stood at the front of the town hall, a wave of familiar faces searched her out. She cleared her throat, feeling a mixture of nerves and excitement. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice strong. "Today, we are here to stand up for our community, for our center, because it's so much more than just a building." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the audience. She introduced her mother and others who had shared their stories. One by one, they spoke about the friendships born there, the laughter that filled the halls, the tears shed in times of need. The crowd leaned in, faces warm, hearts open. This wasn't just a presentation. It was a revival of what Maplewood truly meant. When Jenna stepped up to share for the first time, her voice shook slightly but grew stronger with every word. "This community center gave me the strength to grow, to belong when things were tough. And it can offer that to so many others," she said, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. The audience erupted into a chorus of claps. Finally, Belle took a deep breath before she introduced their special guest. The mayor and his team walked in, somber expressions quickly morphing into curiosity. They took their seats, and silence fell across the room, all eyes pivoting towards Belle. "Today, we stand united as a community," she continued, feeling the strength of everyone around her through shared hope. "We all have something to fight for, our dreams, our children, our place to belong. We can't let this funding slip through our fingers. This is our community, and it deserves a chance." With that, the crowd erupted in support, clapping and murmuring their agreement. Belle felt the energy surge, infusing her every cell with unwavering faith that this was their moment. Then, the mayor stood. "Your passion is clear, and your story's compelling," he said slowly. "But as always, it's about the numbers." The crowd shifted, but Belle pressed on, a fire igniting in her chest. "Sir, the numbers tell history, but stories tell heart. Maplewood is vibrant with potential. We just need the opportunity to shine." Belle's voice rang clear, unwavering. The mayor listened, and a flicker of respect crossed his face. A conversation began, a dialogue filled with hope, charts, proposals, a future paved with possibility. Hours passed, and slowly, the barriers began to break. The mayor's initial hesitations melted as he listened to the community's collective heart. Plans were discussed, possibilities ignited, and by the end, the first steps toward funding were outlined on paper, an undeniable commitment to Maplewood's community center. As the meeting adjourned, joy erupted like fireworks in the hearts of everyone present. Everyone surrounded Belle, sharing hugs and tearful laughter, the weight of hope mingling with renewed spirit. With a hint of disbelief, Belle looked around. The connection they had built through struggle was on the brink of becoming reality. And finally, just before everyone left, Belle caught the mayor's eye as he moved toward her. "You've done something special here today, Belle," he said softly, a smirk of authenticity crossing his features. "I underestimated the power of your voice. I won't again." "We won't stop until it's done," Belle replied, a radiant smile lighting her face. The other members of his team stepped forward, an air of possibilities spinning around them as they began mingling with the townsfolk. Stepping outside, Belle felt warmth hit her from every side. Maplewood would rise together like a phoenix. They had transformed challenges into bridges, hurt into healing, whispers into a resounding roar of unity that would reshuffle lives. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a glow washed over the town. And at that moment, Belle knew her mission had become a legacy, not just for her, but for generations to come. The journey was more than just about a community center. It was about embracing who they were, together, hearts beating one rhythm, and Belle finally understood she was never alone in this. This was just the beginning. You need to subscribe now to catch our future stories, filled with courage and heart. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and show your support for amazing transformations like Belle's. Comment below with your feelings and reactions to this journey. You won't want to miss out. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this wonderful change. Don't wait not even one more second to spread hope and love. Remember, only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let us build a brighter tomorrow together.